There's a lot of things going on right now. I wanted to come on here this evening to really drop some more nuggets on you. Now, excuse me. The other night I believe that we talked about um, what is known as the real income, and I asked, why are you leaving money on the table? And what we discussed was actually how what you think you're making on paper is not actually what you bring home. But right now, you guys have to understand during this whole pandemic that has been going on, things have been magnified. I mean, we've had unemployment rate that is at a sky high. We still have people right now that are unemployed. We still have over 10 million people in America that is unemployed. And when things have been unemployed or when people have gotten unemployed, guess what? Bills didn't stop, car notes didn't stop, utilities didn't stop, rent didn't stop, um, credit card bills didn't stop. There's a whole lot of things that didn't stop except your money. So what I want to do is I actually want to share with you guys some things on what has happened, because when people haven't actually, when they don't have money, they start to float this thing called a credit card. And what you have to understand is right now in 2020, we've broken all type of records. I mean, we've broken records that you couldn't even begin to talk about, because we would be going on and on and on. The biggest debt that, or the biggest record that America has broken, is a thing called credit card debt. And with credit card debt, America has actually topped over $1 trillion in credit card debt. Now, I don't think you guys really actually understand how much $1 million, I mean, a trillion with a T, $1 trillion is. I mean, that number right there is incredibly high. And I tell you why. Not that the number is high, but I'll tell you how it got that high. Because I want you to think about this. America says that if you don't have enough money, then they trick you into believing that it's okay to float money on credit. They believe that. They have you believe that. Think about it. If you got a low credit score, guess what? We'll still give you the money. You'll just pay a little bit higher. If you got to go to school or want to go to college, it's okay to get student loans. But they don't tell you that those student loans are going to keep accumulating interest, and it's going to have you paying stuff that you cannot afford. And there are people that are 20 plus years out of college that are still paying for student loans. See, America has you believing that if you don't have the money right now, then guess what? You can float it on credit. But if you don't have the money right now, what makes you think that tomorrow or within 30 days that I'm going to have it when I'm still struggling? But guys, I want to share with you that there are two types of debt. You have revolving debt and you have installment debt. Let me tell you, revolving debt is what you definitely want to get rid of. And I'm going to share with you guys something that is called the bloody mess, just so you can find out and see for yourself why revolving debt has to go, which you should get mad at, and show you how these credit cards work. Have you guys ever wondered how you always pay your credit card bill? You get a credit card. They may start you out with a $300 to $500 credit limit, but you use it and you're paying every month, and all of a sudden you become the preferred customer. And because of a preferred customer status, we're going to increase your credit limit. Understand this, guys. Every creditor has a plan for your money. Every creditor has a plan for your money. Now, because you're a preferred customer, that's what you're supposed to do, is pay your bill, right? But what credit card companies do is they know that the more money they give you, the more you're going to raise your price. And most credit card companies give you a high interest rate. So when they increase your credit limit, they don't lower your interest rate. They actually keep it going. So look, guys, I'm really about to share something with you that is called the bloody mess. And I want you guys to understand how this actually works now. So think about this. Think about you having a credit card. Some of us have 2 credit cards. Some of us have 3. Some of us have 4. And some of us have more than 4. But if you're taking notes, write this down. Interest is the penalty that you pay for the right to own something in advance that you cannot afford. I'm going to say that again. Interest is the penalty you pay for the right to own something in advance that you cannot afford. One of my mentors, Mr. Brian N. Bean, says that quite often. Interest is the penalty you pay for the right to own something in advance that you cannot afford. Now, guys, let me share with you. If you took your family out on vacation, a whole week, let's say to Disney World, before the pandemic, right? And you paid for your plane tickets or your travel, you paid for your food, you paid for your hotel, you paid for your park entrances. It's quite believable that you would run up $5,000, right? So understand how this works. If you owe $5,000 on a credit card, you would pay $100 a month. That's a reasonable monthly payment, right? But here's the thing, your interest rate is 21%. That's very high. That's not the highest, but that is very high. But here is where most people get tricked because they think, well, if I'm only paying 20%, then that might be $120. But that's not true, guys. It's actually reverse. Remember this, credit cards work on revolving debt. Revolving means that you pay your interest first and you pay the principal last. Always remember that. Revolving debt means that you pay the principal first and then, the interest first and then the principal last. So now, guys, look, if you got a 21% credit card, that's your interest on your credit card. You borrowed $5,000, you pay $100 a month on a 21% interest. If you take that 21 and divide it by 12, because there's 12 months in a year, guys, that yields you 1.75. Remember, how do you change a percentage to a decimal? You know, you move the decimal two places to the left. That's simple math, right? Well, look at it. If you take that 0.21 and divide it by 12, that gives you 0.0175. That means that your monthly percentage rate is 1.75. Yes, they do charge you monthly, not as a whole. So your interest payment, if you take that 0.0175 and multiply it by 5,000, which is how much you owe on that credit score, guys, that means $87.50 goes to interest. $87.50 goes to interest. But your principal payment is $100. That means that you're paying $100 every single month. But if you take $87.50 from the actual principal, guys, that means that you are only paying $12.50 towards that $5,000 every single month. Now, I want you guys to think about that. How long do you think it would take you to completely get out of debt if you're paying $12.50 on a $5,000 loan? Here's a note. Every line of credit, whether it's a credit card, a loan, any type of lending of money, every lending of money has a debt-free date. That means that the date that it will be paid off. Every single type of loan or line of credit has a debt-free date. That means the date, again, that is going to be paid off. If you do not have a plan for your money, believe me, somebody else does. The creditor's job is to get you, the consumer, to pay as long as possible on that line of credit, because the longer you pay, the more they make. The more you pay, the more they make. So, guys, if you're only paying $12.50 per month on that $5,000 loan, guys, that would take you 120 payments, meaning 120 months, because you pay once a month. If you pay that minimum balance, you will pay 120 months. Guys, 120 months divided by 12, which is a year, will give you 10 years. It will take you 10 years to pay off that $5,000. And in reality, guys, the bank loans you $5,000, but if you pay the minimum payment, the bank will earn almost $7,000 on top of that $5,000 that you paid back. You will actually pay $6,986.28 to the bank. And that is from interest. That doesn't make sense, guys. Understand this. The lack of money costs you more money. The abundance of money saves you money. Now, Brandon, what do you mean? That's a good question. Understand this. If you don't have any money right now, that means that you can't pay your bills. That means that your credit score goes down. That means that you incur insufficient fund fees. You incur overdraft fees. You incur reconnection notice fees. You incur all type of bills on top. They're called late fees, right? You guys familiar with that? You get late fees on top of what you already owe. But help me understand this. Just a scenario. If I owe $1,000 on my rent on the first of the month, if I don't have it on the first of the month, you mean to tell me that you're going to charge me anywhere in excess from $100 to $200+ if I don't turn it in by the first? Well, if I didn't have it on the first, what makes you think that I'm going to have an additional $250 on the second? Guys, I'm telling you again, you got to get out of revolving debt. So if you've got credit cards galore, you got to get rid of them. The problem right now with this pandemic that's going on is people are now starting to float on that credit card. But you cannot continue to do that, because debt is the gateway to poverty. That is it. But let me tell you, right now, there is going to be more information for you to learn how to overcome this revolving debt and start to expand your cash flow.